The grand chamber of the Galactic Council stood silent as Ambassador Dae-hyun walked to his seat. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species watched with careful eyes. Some showed respect. Others showed contempt. Most showed fear, though they tried to hide it. Humanity had been part of the Council for 73 years now. In that time, the galaxy had learned one simple truth about humans. They never gave up, ever. When other species would surrender after losing half their forces, humans would fight with a quarter. When others would retreat from impossible odds, humans would dig trenches and hold the line for months. The galaxy had fought 3 wars against human colonies in the early days. All 3 had ended in bloody stalemates that cost everyone dearly. Commander Vesh of the Velok Empire rose from his seat. His reptilian scales gleamed under the chamber lights. The Velok were the galaxy's warrior race, proud and ancient. They had conquered 40 systems through military might alone. The human delegation wishes to speak about frontier security, Vesh said, his voice dripping with mockery. How amusing. Perhaps they will tell us more stories about their adequate soldiers who refuse to die properly. Laughter rippled through some of the delegations. Dae-hyun remained perfectly calm, his hands folded on the table before him. He had learned long ago that patience was its own weapon. The Velok fought humans once, an observer from the Silinar Collective whispered to her companion. They lost 8,000 warriors trying to take a single mining station. The humans had only 300 defenders. Yes, but it took the humans 6 months to win, the companion replied. They are stubborn, not skilled. The emergency alarm cut through the chamber before Dae-hyun could respond to Vesh. Every delegate's communication device lit up simultaneously. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room, showing a desperate message. This is Mining Colony Epsilon 7 requesting immediate aid. We are under attack by Threxian marauders. Over 200 raiders. 300 civilians trapped. Our security forces are overwhelmed. Please anyone, we need help now. The message repeated twice before cutting to static. The chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. The council head, a wise creature from the ancient Euthari species, called for order. The Threxian marauders are a known threat, the council head said, but Epsilon 7 is far from any major military presence. Who can respond? Commander Vesh checked his tactical display. My fleet is 3 weeks away at maximum speed. The colony will fall long before then. Other delegations reported similar problems. Too far, too few ships in the area, not enough resources to spare. The murmurs grew darker. Everyone knew what happened when Threxian marauders took a colony. The civilians would be sold as slaves or killed for sport. The colony is not strategically important, Vesh finally said. We should focus our resources elsewhere. It is regrettable but practical. Dae-hyun stood up slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. Humanity will respond, he said quietly. Vesh laughed, a harsh barking sound. You? Your nearest fleet is 4 weeks away. I checked before this meeting. You cannot possibly mount a response in time. Unless you plan to simply listen to their screams over the communication channels? We will have the situation resolved within 48 hours, Dae-hyun said. His voice remained calm, almost bored. The chamber fell silent. That was impossible. Everyone knew it was impossible. Even if humans had a ship nearby, standard military doctrine required at least 1,000 soldiers to assault a fortified position held by 200 raiders. Gathering that many troops, loading them, briefing them, and executing the operation took weeks of preparation. You are either lying or mad, Vesh said. Even your stubborn soldiers cannot bend the laws of time and space. Dae-hyun pulled out his communication device and typed a short message. Within seconds, a response came back. He read it, nodded, and looked up at the council. I have just authorized the deployment. Strike Team Talon will handle the situation. They are already en route. A strike team? Vesh's confusion was obvious. How large is this team? A battalion? 2 battalions? Even with your fastest ships, deployment will take 12 personnel, Dae-hyun interrupted. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted in disbelief. Some laughed. Others demanded explanations. Vesh's scales flushed dark with anger. You mock this council, Vesh roared. 12 soldiers cannot defeat 200 raiders and save 300 hostages. This is insulting. You condemn those colonists to death with your pride. Dae-hyun finally allowed himself a small smile. It was not a warm expression. Commander Vesh, you have fought human soldiers before. You know our regular military? They are good. They are disciplined. They never surrender. He paused, letting his words sink in. But we are not sending regular soldiers. Then what are you sending? The Silinar observer asked, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. You will see in 48 hours, Daehyun said. I suggest you watch carefully. The galaxy thinks it knows humanity's military capabilities. You are about to learn how wrong you have been. He sat down and refused to answer any more questions. In the back of his mind, he was already counting down. 48 hours until the galaxy received its education. 48 hours until everything changed. Commander Vesh stared at the human ambassador with growing unease. Something in Daehyun's confidence felt wrong. Humans were stubborn and brave, yes, but they were not miracle workers. Yet the ambassador sat there like a man who had already won. What could 12 humans possibly do that an army could not? The stealth carrier Shadow Wind moved through space like a ghost. Its hull absorbed sensor signals instead of reflecting them. To any observer, this section of space appeared completely empty. Inside the ship, 12 people prepared for war. Tae-sung stood in the briefing room, studying the holographic display of mining colony Epsilon 7. Behind him, his team checked their equipment with practiced efficiency. Each member of Strike Team Talon had spent years earning their place here. They were not regular soldiers. They were something else entirely. Listen up, Tae-sung said. His voice was calm but commanded immediate attention. 217 Threxian raiders currently occupy the colony. They have taken 300 civilians hostage and locked them in the main warehouse. The raiders are armed with standard pulse rifles and plasma grenades. They have 7 ships docked at the landing pad. Hyojin looked up from cleaning her rifle. She was the youngest member of the team at 24 years old, but nobody questioned her presence. Her record spoke for itself. 143 confirmed eliminations, many at distances that should have been impossible. What is the engagement protocol? She asked. Precision elimination of leadership, secure the hostages, neutralize remaining raiders. Tae-sung replied. Standard rules apply. We are ghosts. They will not know we are there until it is too late. Kiwoo grinned as he organized his demolition charges. So we get to blow up their ships? Please tell me we get to blow up their ships. After we secure the hostages, yes, Tae-sung confirmed. No escape routes. The raiders either surrender or die. Jinna finished loading her medical supplies into her pack. As the team's combat medic, she carried equipment that could save lives under the worst conditions. She had been with Tae-sung for 8 years. In that time, she had saved 14 team members from wounds that would have killed regular soldiers. Time limit? She asked. 48 hours from authorization, Tae-sung said. We have already burned 6 hours on transit. That gives us 42 hours to complete the mission. Young-sik was studying his tactical display, analyzing every piece of intelligence they had on the Threxian raiders. He was the team's intelligence specialist, fluent in 17 languages including 4 alien dialects. His job was to know everything about the enemy before they ever made contact. The Threxians do not know about human special forces, Young-sik said. Their intelligence reports only mention our regular military. They expect a conventional assault with overwhelming numbers. They will not expect 12 people. Good, Tae-sung said. That gives us our advantage. Standard military doctrine says you need 5 soldiers to defeat 1 entrenched enemy. By those numbers, we would need over 1,000 troops for this operation. The raiders think they have days before any response arrives. He pulled up detailed maps of the colony. The layout was simple. A central hub contained living quarters and administration. The warehouse district held the hostages. The landing pad was on the northern edge. Between everything stood the raiders, confident and unsuspecting. We split into 3 fire teams, Tae-sung continued. Alpha team is me, Jinna, Byung-ho, and Tae-hoon. We extract the hostages. Bravo team is Hyojin, Minsu, and Jaewon. You eliminate the raider leadership. Charlie team is Kiwoo, Young-sik, Hyunwoo, and Sang-mi. You destroy their ships and cut off escape routes. The team nodded. They had run similar operations dozens of times. Different enemies, different planets, same principles. Move silent, strike hard, disappear before anyone understood what happened. Their equipment reflected their specialized nature. Unlike the bulky armor worn by regular soldiers, Special Forces gear was sleek and adaptive. The suits could change color to match any environment. They blocked thermal signatures and dampened sound. Most importantly, they incorporated technology reverse-engineered from 6 different alien species. creating combinations the galaxy had never seen. Hyojin's rifle was a masterpiece of engineering. It could kill at 3 kilometers in any atmosphere. The scope compensated for wind, gravity, rotation of planets, even the target's breathing patterns. In her hands, it was absolutely lethal. Kiwoo's demolition charges were small enough to hide in a pocket, but powerful enough to destroy a battle tank. He could shape the explosions with such precision that he once brought down a building without harming anyone in the structure next door. One question, Byung-ho said. He was built like a tank himself, the team's heavy weapons specialist. Why did the ambassador promise 48 hours? We could do this in 24. Tae-sung smiled slightly. Politics. If we do it too fast, the council thinks we got lucky. 48 hours is just slow enough to seem believable while still being impossible by their standards. So we make them sweat a little, Jae-won said with a laugh. Exactly. Now equipment check. We drop in 30 minutes. The team moved with practice synchronization. Every weapon was tested. Every device was confirmed operational. Every team member verified their partner's gear. In Special Forces operations, your life depended on the person next to you. Trust was not optional. The drop pods were already loaded in the launch bay. Each pod was designed to be invisible during descent, using the planet's electromagnetic storms as cover. The Threxians would never detect the insertion. Tae-sung did one final check of his own equipment. His rifle, his sidearm, his combat knife, communication device, medical kit, breaching charges, surveillance drones. Every piece of equipment had been tested in real combat. Nothing was theoretical. 5 minutes to drop, the ship's AI announced. The team filed into the launch bay and climbed into their pods. Hyojin gave Tae-sung a casual salute before sealing her pod. Jinna checked her medical supplies one last time. Kiwoo was probably grinning inside his pod, excited about the upcoming explosions. Tae-sung sealed his own pod and ran through the mission timeline in his head. 20 kilometers from the colony, approach under cover of darkness, split into fire teams, execute objectives, extract hostages, neutralize threats, destroy escape routes. Complete mission, simple, clean, efficient. All teams sound off, he said over the communication channel. Each team member confirmed ready status. 12 voices, calm and professional. They had done this before. They would do it again. Launch in 10 seconds, the AI announced. Tae-sung took a deep breath. In his mind, he pictured the faces of the 300 civilians waiting for rescue. They did not know help was coming. They did not know that 12 humans were about to ghost through 200 raiders like smoke through fire. The galaxy thought it knew what humans could do. Regular soldiers who never surrendered. Armies that ground down enemies through stubborn determination. The galaxy had no idea what was about to hit them. Launch, Tae-sung said quietly. The pod shot into space, invisible and silent, carrying humanity's deadliest secret toward an unsuspecting enemy. The drop pods landed 20 kilometers from the colony without making a sound. The planet's electromagnetic storms masked their arrival perfectly. Tae-sung emerged from his pod and immediately scanned the area. Empty desert stretched in every direction. Good. No witnesses. Within 2 minutes, all 12 team members had assembled and buried their pods beneath the sand. By the time anyone found them, the mission would be long over. The team moved out in tactical formation, covering ground quickly but carefully. They had 16 hours until dawn. Plenty of time. 4 hours later, they reached the ridge overlooking the colony. Tae-sung could see the raider sentries patrolling lazily. The Threxians were confident. They thought they had days before any military response arrived. Their mistake would be fatal. All teams, check positions, Tae-sung whispered into his communication device. Hyojin's voice came back first. Bravo team in position. I have clear sight lines to the command post, counting 3 high-value targets. Probably the raid leaders, Kiwoo reported next. Charlie team at the landing pad perimeter. 7 ships confirmed. I can have charges placed in 40 minutes. Good, Tae-sung said. Alpha team will begin hostage extraction at midnight. Bravo, you execute on my mark. Charlie, prepare for demolition, but do not blow the ships until all hostages are clear. 3 acknowledgements came back. The team settled in to wait. In Special Forces work, patience was as important as skill. They would move when the time was right. Not before. Hyojin lay flat on the ridge, her rifle resting on its bipod. Through her scope, she could see every detail of the Raider command post 3,000 meters away. 3 Threxian commanders stood around a holographic display, probably planning their next move. They had no idea Death was watching them from the darkness. She checked the wind speed, adjusted for the planet's gravity, calculated the bullet drop. Her rifle's computer confirmed the firing solution. All 3 targets were within her capability. She just needed the order. Down at the landing pad, Kiwu and his team moved like shadows. The Raiders had posted guards, but they were watching outward, expecting threats from space. They never looked behind them. Kiwu slipped under the first ship and placed a small charge against its fuel line. He marked it with a remote detonator and moved to the next ship. Young Sik stayed close, monitoring enemy communications. "They are expecting a shipment of supplies tomorrow," he whispered. "They plan to stay here for at least another week." "They will not be here tomorrow," Kiwu replied. Placing another charge at the warehouse, Taesung studied the guard positions through his night vision scope. 40 raiders patrolled around the building holding the hostages. That was more than expected. Inside, thermal scans showed 300 civilians packed together, terrified and waiting. "Too many guards for a quiet approach," Byung-ho observed. "Then we make noise in the right place," Taesung said. "Jinna, prepare flashbangs. We go loud in 30 seconds, but controlled loud. Byung-ho, suppressing fire on my mark. Tae-hoon, breach the south entrance the moment we engage." The clock hit midnight. "Time to move." "Bravo team, execute," Taesung commanded. 3 kilometers away, Hyojin took a breath, held it, and squeezed the trigger. Her rifle made almost no sound, just a quiet cough. The first Threxian commander's head snapped back. She cycled the bolt smoothly. Second shot. Second commander down. Third shot. Third target eliminated. Total time, 4 seconds. The Threxian raiders at the command post panicked instantly. They had no idea where the shots came from. Some thought it was orbital bombardment. Others screamed about invisible enemies. Their confusion was exactly what Taesung needed. "Alpha team, go now." Taesung's team moved fast. Gina threw 4 flashbangs over the warehouse wall. The blinding light and deafening sound stunned every guard in range. Byung-ho opened fire with his rifle. Precise shots that hit exactly where they needed to. Raiders dropped, their weapons falling from useless hands. Tae-hoon reached the warehouse door with a breaching charge. 1 second to place it. 2 seconds to clear the blast zone. The door exploded inward. Taesung was through the opening before the smoke cleared. Inside the warehouse, terrified civilians screamed. The raiders guarding them spun toward the entrance, raising weapons. They never got a chance to fire. Taesung and his team moved through them like a storm. Every shot counted. Every movement was precise. In 90 seconds, all 40 guards were down. "Civilians, stay down," Taesung shouted. "We are human military. You are safe. Stay down and follow our instructions." Jinna was already moving through the hostages, checking for injuries. Most were scared but unharmed. Taesung activated his communication device. "Hostages secure. Charlie team, clear the exits. Bravo team, status." Hyojin's calm voice came back. "Enemy leadership eliminated. Raiders are panicking and heading for their ships." "Perfect," Taesung said. "Kiwu, let them get close. Wait for my order." At the landing pad, young Sik watched the raiders running toward their escape vessels. Over 100 Threxians were sprinting across the open ground, desperate to flee the invisible attackers. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Young Sik, broadcast surrender terms, Taesung ordered. Young Sik activated the colony's communication array. His voice boomed across every speaker in the settlement, speaking perfect Threxian language. "Attention raiding forces. You are surrounded by human special operations. Your leadership is eliminated. Your escape routes are compromised. Drop your weapons immediately or you will be destroyed. This is your only warning." Some raiders stopped running. Others kept going, refusing to believe. They reached their ships and tried to start the engines. "Kiwu, light them up," Taesung commanded. Kiwu pressed the detonator with a grin. 7 explosions lit up the night sky simultaneously. The raider ships vanished in balls of fire. The shockwave knocked running Threxians off their feet. When the smoke cleared, every escape vessel was gone. The fight went out of the raiders instantly. Weapons clattered to the ground. Hands rose in surrender. A few tried to run into the desert, but Hyojin's team had them in sight. Warning shots kicked up sand at their feet. They stopped and surrendered too. Taesung walked through the colony, watching his team secure prisoners. The entire operation had lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes from first shot to complete control. 0 human casualties. 47 raiders dead, mostly those who refused to surrender. 158 prisoners secured. All 300 hostages safe. A surviving Threxian officer stared at Tae-sung with wide, frightened eyes. "What are you?" the raider asked in broken human language. "You do not fight like the humans we know. We studied your military. You are supposed to be slow. Predictable, you use overwhelming numbers." Tae-sung looked at the alien raider with cold eyes. "That is our regular military. They are very good at what they do. They win through determination and strength." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We are what happens when humans stop fighting fair." He turned away from the terrified raider and checked his timeline. 36 hours remaining until the ambassador's 48-hour deadline. They had time to secure the site, process prisoners, and wait for regular forces to arrive for cleanup. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson. Humanity had been holding back. For 73 years, every conflict had been handled by conventional forces. The Council thought they understood human military capabilities. They understood nothing. Tae-sung looked up at the stars where he knew the shadow wind waited in orbit. Somewhere beyond those stars, the Galactic Council was counting down the hours, expecting failure or barely managed success. They were going to be very surprised. The Galactic Council chamber was unusually full. Word had spread quickly about the human ambassador's impossible promise. 48 hours to save a colony with just 12 soldiers. Most delegates came to witness the admission of failure. Some came hoping to see human arrogance finally punished. Commander Vesh sat in his seat with satisfaction, barely hidden on his reptilian face. 46 hours had passed. In 2 more hours, the humans would be exposed as fools or liars. Either way, their reputation would be damaged. The Velok Empire would ensure everyone remembered this moment. Ambassador Dae-hyun entered the chamber exactly on schedule. He walked calmly to his position and placed a data tablet on the table. He did not look worried. He did not look defeated. He looked almost bored. "The Council recognizes Ambassador Dae-hyun," the Council had announced. "You have 2 hours remaining on your promised timeline. Do you wish to make a statement?" "The operation is complete," Dae-hyun said simply. "Mining colony Epsilon 7 is secure. All 300 hostages are safe. The Threxian raiders have been neutralized. 47 confirmed dead. 158 prisoners awaiting council justice." The chamber erupted in noise. Impossible. Unbelievable. Delegates shouted questions and accusations. Commander Vesh stood up, his scales flushing dark. "You lie," Vesh roared. "We have been monitoring communications. There has been no battle. No distress calls, nothing. You cannot simply claim victory with no evidence." Dae-hyun touched his tablet. The chamber's main holographic display activated. "This is combat footage from Strike Team Talon. All recordings are time-stamped and verified." The display showed 12 humans moving through darkness. The quality was perfect, pulled directly from their helmet cameras. The Council watched in stunned silence as the operation unfolded before them. Hyojin's scope view appeared first. The 3 Threxian commanders stood in perfect detail, 3,000 meters away. Her crosshairs settled. 3 shots, 4 seconds, 3 bodies falling. The Threxian raiders panicking in the background, screaming about orbital strikes. The view switched to the warehouse assault. Flashbangs, precise fire. Raiders dropping. 90 seconds from breach to complete control. The timestamp showed it all happening exactly as described. Kiwoo's footage showed the demolition. 7 ships, 7 perfect explosions. Raiders running, then surrendering. The entire operation played out in compressed time, 4 hours and 17 minutes reduced to 10 minutes of viewing. When it finished, the chamber remained absolutely silent. Finally, a Velok military analyst named Kresh spoke. His voice was quiet, almost reverent. "This is impossible. 12 soldiers cannot defeat 200 in fortified positions with 0 losses. The tactics are beyond anything in our databases. The precision is superhuman." "Not superhuman," Dae-hyun corrected gently. "Just human. Specifically trained human special operations forces." A Silinar observer leaned forward, her large eyes fixed on the ambassador. "How long have you had these specialists?" "Human special operations forces have existed for over 300 years," Dae-hyun replied. "They predate our first contact with the galaxy by more than a century. The implications hit the Council like a physical blow. 300 years. These warriors had existed before humanity even knew about alien life. Every military engagement the galaxy had witnessed, every conflict, every battle, humanity had only used conventional forces. "You deceived us," Vesh said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. "You hid this capability deliberately." "We did not hide anything," Dae-hyun said calmly. "You made assumptions about our military based on what you saw. We never claimed that was our full capability. You simply never asked." The council had raised a hand for order. "How many of these special operations personnel does humanity possess?" "Approximately 50,000 across all branches and specializations," Dae-hyun answered. "Less than 1% of our total military force, 50,000. The number was small compared to humanity's regular military of 8 million. But if 12 could do what the council just witnessed, what could 50,000 accomplish?" A delegate from the Krinth Dominion spoke up. "Your regular military has fought 3 wars against other council species. They were brutal conflicts that ended in stalemates. Were these special forces ever deployed in those wars?" "No," Dae-hyun said. "Regular military conflicts are handled by regular military forces. Special operations are reserved for situations requiring precision rather than power." "Precision," Kresh repeated quietly. "That is an interesting way to describe what we just watched." Commander Vesh was studying the holographic display, replaying certain sections. His military mind was analyzing the footage and his face showed growing concern. "The equipment your team used. That is not standard human technology. I recognize Uthari stealth compounds in those suits, Silinar optical systems in the scopes, even some Velok armor plating design. We adapt technology from many sources," Dae-hyun confirmed. "Special operations forces use the best tools available, regardless of origin." This revelation sent another wave of concern through the council. Humans had been quietly collecting and integrating alien technology into their most elite units. They had been learning, adapting, improving, all while letting the galaxy think it understood their capabilities. "I demand transparency," Vesh said. "You must share your training methods, your technology, your tactics. The council has a right to know." "No," Dae-hyun said firmly. "Humanity will gladly participate in joint operations. We will share intelligence and coordinate responses to galactic threats, but our special operations training and methods remain classified, just as I am certain the Velok Crimson Guard does not share all its secrets." Vesh started to argue but stopped. The ambassador was right. Every species kept some military secrets, but the scale of this secret was unprecedented. The Silinar observer spoke again. "You said you would participate in joint operations. Does this mean you are willing to deploy these special forces in council missions?" "Under specific circumstances, yes," Dae-hyun replied. "Hostage rescue. Precision strikes against high-value targets. Situations where overwhelming force would cause unacceptable collateral damage. We will not deploy special forces for territorial conquest or political assassinations." The council had considered this carefully. The council formally requests a demonstration of these capabilities under controlled conditions. "We must understand what humanity brings to our collective security." Dae-hyun nodded. "That is acceptable. Within reason." Commander Vesh was still staring at the holographic display. Something bothered him deeply. Finally he spoke. "Ambassador, a question. Your regular military fought the Velok Empire to a stalemate 30 years ago. That conflict lasted 8 months and cost both sides dearly. If you had these special forces then, why did you not use them?" Dae-hyun met the Velok commander's eyes directly. "That was a conventional military conflict over a territorial dispute. It required a conventional military response. Special forces are not meant to replace armies, Commander. They are meant to accomplish what armies cannot." "And what is that?" Vesh asked. "To be invisible until the moment we strike. To solve problems before they become wars. To save lives instead of taking them in mass." Dae-hyun paused. "The galaxy feared humanity's regular soldiers because we never surrender. Now you will learn to fear our special forces for a different reason, because you will never see them coming." The words hung in the air. The council delegates sat in uncomfortable silence, processing what they had learned. For 73 years, humanity had been part of the galactic community. For 73 years, the galaxy thought it understood humans. Strong, stubborn, dangerous when cornered but predictable. Now they realized that humanity had been operating with one hand tied behind its back. The question on everyone's mind was simple and terrifying. What else had humanity been hiding? 3 weeks after the Epsilon 7 rescue, Commander Vesh made his proposal to the Galactic Council. He called it a friendly competition. Most delegates understood it for what it really was, a challenge. The Velok Empire's pride had been wounded, and Vesh wanted to prove his warriors were still superior. A military exercise on neutral ground, Vesh announced. Each participating species sends their elite forces. Identical objectives. Identical conditions. We will finally see the truth of these human special forces compared to the galaxy's finest warriors. The Council agreed. Several species volunteered their best units. The Velok would send their legendary Crimson Guard. The Silinar offered their shadow operatives, masters of stealth technology. The Krinth would deploy their battle sages, warriors with psychic abilities. The Uthari provided their assassins, beings who had perfected the art of killing over thousands of years. Ambassador Daehyun accepted on behalf of humanity. We will send one team. 6 operators. Vesh laughed at that. 6? I'm bringing 50 of my finest Crimson Guard. The Silinar are sending 20. Are you certain 6 is enough? It will be sufficient. Daehyun replied calmly. The exercise location was Dracon 7, a moon with varied terrain and a fully equipped training facility. The objectives were straightforward. Infiltrate a fortified compound. Extract a target without harming them. Exfiltrate without being detected. Each team would use the same compound reset between runs. Sensors and cameras would record everything. The compound was serious. 30-foot walls, guard towers, patrol drones, automated defense systems. In the center, locked in a secure room, waited the target. An actor playing a prisoner who needed rescue. The Velok Crimson Guard went first. 50 warriors in heavy armor, armed with the best weapons the Empire could provide. They approached at dawn using a direct assault strategy. Plasma charges blew through the walls. Guards engaged with suppressing fire. The Crimson Guard fought their way through room by room, overwhelming defenders with superior numbers and firepower. They completed the objectives in 3 hours. The target was extracted alive but shaken from the explosions and gunfire. The compound was heavily damaged. In the simulation, 12 Crimson Guard had been recorded as casualties. Still, it was an impressive display of power. Commander Vesh seemed satisfied. That is how warriors fight, he announced. With strength and courage, the Silinar Shadows went next. 20 operatives using advanced stealth technology and clever tactics. They waited until night, then used specialized equipment to disable the compound's power grid. In the darkness, they moved through the facility like ghosts, stunning guards rather than killing them. They finished in 2.5 hours with 5 simulated casualties. The target was unharmed and barely knew danger was near. The compound remained mostly intact. The Krinth battle sages followed with an impressive display of psychic abilities. They manipulated guard minds, creating illusions and confusion. Their 30 warriors moved through defenders who thought they were seeing allies instead of enemies. 2 hours, 3 simulated casualties. Very effective. Finally, the Uthari assassins took their turn. 15 beings who had been killing efficiently since before most species discovered fire. They used poisons that left guards unconscious but alive. They moved through ventilation systems and maintenance tunnels. 1.5 hours, 1 simulated casualty. The target was extracted so smoothly that half the compound never knew anything happened. The council observers were impressed. These were truly the galaxy's finest warriors. Each approach had strengths: power, technology, psychic ability, ancient skill. Commander Vesh seemed pleased with the results. Now, he said with barely hidden satisfaction, let us see what 6 humans can accomplish. The human team arrived in a simple transport, 6 operators and equipment that looked almost plain, compared to the elaborate gear other teams used. Their leader was a woman named Hansol. She was small, quiet, and utterly unremarkable to look at. Vesh barely glanced at her. You may begin when ready, the council head announced. Hansol nodded to her team. They moved to their starting position and simply vanished. One moment they were visible. The next they were gone, not in a flash of technology. Not with dramatic effect. They just faded from view and disappeared. The observers watched their sensor feeds carefully. Thermal cameras showed nothing. Motion detectors remained silent. Electromagnetic scanners detected no signals. The compound security systems registered 0 intrusions. For 45 minutes, absolutely nothing happened. The observers began to fidget. Had the humans actually entered? Were they even moving? Some delegates wondered if there was an equipment malfunction. Then Han Solo's team simply appeared at the extraction point with the target. No alarms, no warnings. No detection events recorded. The target looked confused, as if waking from sleep. The timer showed 47 minutes. 0 simulated casualties, 0 detection events, 0 damage to the compound. Commander Vesh stared at the display in disbelief. That is impossible. Nothing can avoid all sensors. Nothing can move through a fortified compound unseen. There must be an error. No error, the Silinar observer said quietly. She was studying the recordings with fascination. Look at the timestamps. They did enter, but somehow they moved through every security system without triggering anything. The council demanded an explanation. Han Solo stood before them looking tired but professional. How did you do this? Vesh demanded. What technology are you using? Multiple methods, Han Solo replied. Our suits use electromagnetic shielding adapted from captured pirate technology. We carried neural suppression fields to avoid psychic detection. Biorhythm masking defeated thermal sensors. We studied the compound's patrol patterns for 40 minutes before moving. But that is not enough, Kresh said. He was genuinely curious now, not angry. Even with all that technology, our sensors should have detected something. Movement, air displacement, something. Han Solo allowed herself a small smile. Technology helps, but the real advantage is simpler. We know how to be patient. We know how to wait. Every sensor has a rhythm. Every guard has patterns. We simply moved in the gaps between. That requires incredible discipline, the Uthari representative observed. Yes, Han Solo agreed. That is what Special Forces training provides. We learn to become invisible not through magic or technology, but through understanding our environment completely. Commander Vesh was still struggling to accept what he had seen. This competition proves nothing. Real combat is different from exercises. You are correct, Han Solo said. Real combat is different. In real combat, we would not have been as gentle. The entire compound would have been neutralized before you even knew we were there. The Silinar observer leaned back in her seat. I think I understand now. Ambassador De Hyun, when you said your special forces solve problems that armies cannot, you meant this. You send warriors who win before the battle begins. Exactly, De Hyun confirmed. Commander Vesh, you wanted to prove the Crimson Guard was superior. In a direct fight, your warriors might win. They are strong and brave. But special forces are not meant for direct fights. We are meant to end conflicts before they start. Vesh had no response to that. He had challenged the humans to prove themselves, and they had exceeded every expectation. Worse, they had done it with such ease that it made everyone else's efforts look clumsy by comparison. The other species began immediately requesting information about human special forces training. 3 delegations asked about joint training programs. Others wanted to purchase human equipment or technology. De Hyun politely declined all requests. We will work with you. We will share intelligence and coordinate missions, but our training methods remain classified. As the council session ended, Han Solo prepared to leave with her team. Commander Vesh approached her privately. One question, he said. How many like you does humanity have? Enough, Han Solo replied simply. She looked at the towering Velok warrior with calm eyes. Commander, you should not fear human special forces. We are not your enemy. But you should understand something. The galaxy has only seen what we choose to show. That should terrify you more than any demonstration. Vesh watched the small human woman walk away and felt something he had not experienced in years. Genuine fear. Not because of what he had seen, because of what he had not. The emergency alert reached the Galactic Council at 0300 hours, Universal Standard Time, 3 worlds under simultaneous attack. The enemy was unknown, moving with terrifying speed. Initial defense forces had been overwhelmed in hours. By the time the council assembled, the situation was catastrophic. The attackers called themselves the Zalvath Swarm. They were an insectoid hive mind species that had apparently been watching the galaxy from dark space for decades. Now they had decided to strike. The holographic displays showed nightmare scenes. Zalvath drones poured through cities like living floods. They were coordinated, relentless, and seemingly endless. Each invaded world had billions of civilians trapped behind enemy lines. We are assembling the combined fleet, the council had announced. But early projections are not favorable. The Zalvath numbers are beyond anything in our experience. Commander Vesh studied the tactical displays with growing horror. They are not fighting to conquer. They are fighting to consume. Every world they take becomes a breeding ground for more Zalvoth. The Silinar observer ran calculations on her terminal. If we cannot stop them on these 3 worlds, they will spread to 6 more within a month. 12 more the month after. The growth is exponential. What are our options? A delegate asked desperately. Orbital bombardment, Vesh said grimly. Sterilize all 3 worlds before the Zalvoth can spread. It is the only way to guarantee containment. The chamber fell silent. Orbital bombardment meant killing everyone on those worlds. Billions of civilians would die alongside the Zalvoth. It was unthinkable. But the alternative was letting the swarm spread until it consumed the galaxy. Ambassador Daehyun stood up. There is another option. Give us 72 hours. Humanity cannot stop this, Vesh said, though without his usual mockery. This is not a hostage situation or a fortified compound. This is 3 worlds drowning in millions of enemy creatures. The Zalvoth operate as a hive mind, Daehyun explained. Intelligence reports indicate each invasion is coordinated by a queen. Kill the queens and the swarm collapses. The drones become mindless and can be contained conventionally. The Silinar observer checked her data. That is theoretically correct. But the queens will be buried deep in Zalvoth-controlled territory, surrounded by millions of drones, protected by their strongest warriors. Reaching them would require fighting through entire armies. For a conventional force, yes, Daehyun agreed. But we will not use conventional forces. We will send 3 special operations teams, 1 to each world. Their mission is simple. Find the queen, kill the queen, extract. That is suicide, Kresh said bluntly. Even your special forces cannot fight millions of enemies. They will not fight millions, Daehyun said. They will avoid them. Move through them. Become invisible until the moment of the strike. That is what they do, the council debated frantically. 72 hours. If the humans failed, there might not be time for orbital bombardment. The Zalvoth could spread beyond containment, but the alternative was murdering billions of innocent civilians immediately. If we do this, we broadcast the operations live, the council had decided. The entire galaxy will watch. If humanity fails, we must still have time to use orbital bombardment. Agreed, Daehyun said. The operations will be fully transparent. He activated his communication device and issued rapid orders. Deploy Strike Team Talon to Pavonis 3. Deploy Strike Team Raptor to Verdana. Deploy Strike Team Wraith to Sanctuary Station. Mission authorization, Queen kill. Time limit, 72 hours. Within the hour, 3 human stealth carriers were in position. On Pavonis 3, Tai Sung and his team studied the industrial world's layout. The planet was covered in factories and mining operations. Zalvoth had turned the facilities into hives. Millions of drones moved through the structures. Intelligence says the queen is in the central processing plant, Young Sik reported. Underground level, surrounded by approximately 10,000 drones. Then we go underground, Taesung said simply. On Verdana, an agricultural world, team leader Unji faced a different challenge. The Zalvoth had covered the planet's surface in their organic matter. Fields of crops were now fields of alien biomass. The air was toxic. The queen is using the planet's vegetation to spread, Yunji observed. We cannot use conventional approaches. The biomass will detect our movement. Her team included a specialist named Su Bin who understood alien biology. We can use bioengineered phages, Su Bin suggested. Target only Zalvoth DNA. We track the queen through pheromone signatures. At Sanctuary Station, Dong Hyun looked at a 3-dimensional nightmare. The space station was huge with thousands of sections. The Zalvoth controlled 60% of it. Civilians were trapped in sealed sections running out of air. The queen has merged with the station's computer core. Young Il reported. He was the team's technical specialist. She is using the systems to control her drones. We cannot just kill her. We have to separate her from the network first. Then we hack her out and kill her, Dong Hyun said. Simple. All 3 teams deployed simultaneously. The galaxy watched through live feeds from their helmet cameras. What they saw defied everything they understood about military operations. Tai Sung's team entered Pavonis 3 through abandoned mining tunnels. They moved through absolute darkness, using chemical markers to mask their scent from Zalvoth drones. Hyojin eliminated sentries with silent shots. Kiwoo placed shaped charges to collapse tunnels behind them. preventing pursuit. They navigated through thousands of drones without being detected. Every movement was calculated. Every breath was controlled. It took them 30 hours to reach the underground chamber where the Queen waited. On Verdana, Yunji's team looked like ghosts moving through toxic mist. They wore specialized suits that filtered the poison air. Subin's phages created clear paths through the biomass. The team followed pheromone trails that only they could detect. They found the Queen buried in converted farmland, surrounded by drones that would attack anything that moved wrong. But Yunji's team did not move wrong. They moved perfectly. At Sanctuary Station, Dong Hyun's team fought in zero gravity through maintenance ducts and along the station's exterior hull. Young-il hacked into the station's systems while floating in vacuum. The Queen tried to kill him through the network. He blocked her digital attacks while his teammates held off physical ones. The galaxy watched all three operations in breathless silence. These were not battles. These were surgical strikes performed by warriors who had mastered every aspect of their craft. 68 hours into the operation, Taesung's team was in position. Target acquired. Preparing to engage. 69 hours in, Dong Hyun's team finished their hack. Queen separated from network. Engaging now. 71 hours in, Yunji's team reached their Queen. Target confirmed. Taking the shot, 3 teams. 3 queens. 3 perfect executions. On Pavonis 3, the Zalvoth drone simply stopped moving. Millions of creatures became still as statues without their queen's direction. On Verdana, the biomass began dying, its connection to the hive mind severed. At Sanctuary Station, the Zalvoth drones floated lifelessly in the corridors. All 3 missions succeeded. Total human casualties, 3 operators with non-fatal injuries. Total civilian casualties saved, billions. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the 3 teams extracted efficiently, moving through the now dormant Zalvoth swarms like they had moved through everything else. Invisibly, perfectly, unstoppable. The Zalvoth swarm, having lost their invasion queens, retreated from Council space entirely. The 3 worlds were saved, and the galaxy finally understood what humanity had been trying to tell them all along. Special forces did not win through strength. They won through skill, discipline, and the absolute refusal to accept that anything was impossible. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every delegate sat in absolute silence, watching the final moments of the 3 extraction operations. Taesung's team walked calmly through millions of dormant Zalvoth drones on Pavonis 3. Yunji's team moved through dying biomass on Verdana. Donghyun's team floated through Sanctuary Station's corridors, past floating Zalvoth bodies. Not one drone attacked. The queens were dead. The hive mind was broken. 3 worlds had been saved by 36 humans who the galaxy never saw coming. Commander Vesh stood slowly. His reptilian face showed an expression that surprised everyone. Respect. Deep, genuine respect. I wish to make a formal statement, Vesh announced. His voice carried none of its usual arrogance. The Velok Empire acknowledges the extraordinary capability of human special operations forces. We were wrong to mock them. We were wrong to challenge them. We were wrong about everything. He turned to face Ambassador Daehyun directly. We feared humanity's soldiers because they never surrender. We should have feared their silence. We should have feared the warriors we never saw. The Velok Empire offers formal apology and requests alliance. Daehyun nodded acceptance. Other delegates began standing, adding their own acknowledgments. The Silinar, the Krinth, the Yuthari, even species that had previously kept humanity at arm's length now sought closer ties. The council head called for order. The council recognizes humanity's contribution to galactic security. Ambassador Daehyun, we formally offer humanity a permanent seat on the Security Directorate. You will have equal voice in all military decisions affecting the galaxy. We accept, Daehyun said, but with conditions. The chamber went quiet again. Conditions were unusual for such an honor. Human Special Operations Forces will operate as we see fit, Daehyun explained. We will take council missions that align with our principles. Hostage rescue, counterterrorism, protection of civilians. Precision strikes against legitimate threats. But we will not be used for territorial conquest. We will not assassinate political rivals. We will not become the council's private killers. Those terms are acceptable. The council head agreed quickly. What else? Our training methods remain classified. Our full capabilities remain classified. Other species may request joint operations, but they may not demand access to our programs. Daehyun paused. And understand this clearly. What you have seen is a small fraction of what we can do. You have witnessed 36 operators from 3 teams. Do not mistake that for our limits. The Silinar observer's eyes widened. You have 50,000 Special Forces personnel. If 36 can do what we just witnessed, what could 50,000 accomplish? Pray you never need to find out, Daehyun said quietly. The political changes happened quickly after that. 3 species immediately signed defense treaties with humanity. 5 others requested Special Forces advisors. The Valok Empire, previously humanity's greatest critic, became one of their strongest allies. Vesh personally requested to observe human training, though he was politely refused. In orbit above Earth, the 3 Special Forces teams returned to their ships. Taesung's team gathered in the debriefing room of the Shadow Wind. They looked tired but satisfied. Another mission completed, more lives saved. The galaxy is going to treat us differently now, Hyojin observed. No more underestimating humans. Good, Kiwoo said. Maybe they will think twice before causing problems. Jinna was checking her medical reports. Subin had suffered chemical burns on Verdana but would recover fully. Young-il had overexerted himself during the network hack and needed rest. Byung-ho had pulled a muscle on Pavonis 3. Minor injuries. Acceptable losses. Do you think they finally understand what we are? Hyojin asked Taesung. Their team leader considered the question carefully. They understand we are dangerous. They understand we can appear anywhere, anytime. They understand that walls and armies cannot stop us. He paused. But they still do not understand why. Jinna looked up from her reports. What do you mean? They think we are effective because of our training. Our technology, our tactics, Taesung gestured to his team. Those things help, but they are not why we succeed. Then why do we succeed? Young-sik asked. Because we fight for each other. Taesung said simply. Every person on this team would die for the others without hesitation. That bond, that absolute trust, that is our real weapon. Other species have warriors. Some have technology. A few have both, but they do not have what we have. Family, Jinna said softly. Exactly. We are not just soldiers following orders. We are brothers and sisters protecting each other and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Taesung looked at each team member. That is something the galaxy may never understand. They see the results. They miss the reason. Back on Earth, in a secure briefing room, military leaders discussed the future. The galaxy now knew about special forces. That would change tactics. Enemies would try to prepare for invisible warriors. We need to stay ahead, one general said. They will develop countermeasures. New sensors, new tactics, let them try, another general replied. We have been doing this for 300 years. We will adapt faster than they can defend. At the Galactic Council, new protocols were established. A direct communication channel to Human Special Forces Command, joint operation procedures, intelligence sharing agreements. The galaxy was learning to work with humanity's silent warriors. Commander Vesh met privately with Ambassador Daehyun after the formal sessions ended. A question, Vesh said. When we first challenged your special forces, you seemed confident. Not worried, why? Daehyun smiled. Because I knew something you did not. The galaxy has been watching humanity for 73 years. You saw our regular military. You saw our diplomats. You saw our merchants and scientists. You thought you understood us. And we were wrong, Vesh acknowledged. You were incomplete, Daehyun corrected. Everything you saw about humanity was true. We are stubborn. We are determined. We never surrender. But you only saw the surface. You never looked deeper. And what is deeper? The willingness to become invisible, to sacrifice recognition for results, to operate in silence while others take credit. Daehyun looked at the Valok commander seriously. Your Crimson Guard are warriors. They fight with honor and glory. They want to be seen, recognized, celebrated. Human special forces are different. They succeed in darkness and ask for nothing. That is a level of discipline and humility that cannot be trained. It must be chosen. Vesh considered this. How many species in the galaxy have forces like yours? None that we know of, Daehyun admitted. Most species value glory too much. They want their warriors to be famous, to be feared openly. Special forces require the opposite mindset. You must be willing to be forgotten. Then humanity is truly unique, Vesh said, perhaps. Or perhaps other species simply have not needed to develop this capability yet. Necessity is a powerful teacher. Across the galaxy, the story of the Zalvoth operation spread. Humanity's special forces became legend. Parents told children about the invisible warriors who saved 3 worlds. Military academies studied the tactics. Politicians debated the implications. But in quiet rooms on Earth and classified facilities where few were allowed, training continued. New recruits learned to move silently, to think clearly under pressure, to trust their teammates absolutely, to become invisible when needed and unstoppable when required. The galaxy now knew that human special forces existed. They knew roughly how many there were. They had seen what small teams could accomplish, but they did not know where those 50,000 operators were stationed. They did not know what missions were currently running. They did not know what capabilities remained hidden. On the shadow wind, Taesung stood at the observation window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other teams were operating, silent missions that the galaxy would never hear about. Problems being solved before they became crises. Lives being saved by people whose names would never be known. Yojin joined him at the window. Thinking about the next mission? Always, Taesung replied. The galaxy is safer now. But danger never stops. There will always be another crisis. Another threat. Another impossible situation. And we will handle it, Yojin said confidently. Yes, we will, because that is what we do. Taesung smiled slightly. The galaxy thinks they understand us now. They think they have seen everything. They have not, Yojin said. Not even close, Taesung agreed. Far below, on a classified base, a display screen showed the deployment status of human special forces. Small green lights indicated active teams across the galaxy. There were many lights. Far more than the galaxy suspected. A text overlay at the bottom of the screen read, Active Operations 247, Personnel Deployed 2941, Status, All Green. Galaxy had met 36 Special Forces operators during the Zalvoth crisis. They thought that represented humanity's capability. They were so very wrong. 50,000 operators existed. Only a fraction had been revealed. The rest remained in shadow, doing what they had always done. Moving silently, striking precisely, protecting those who needed protection, ending threats before they began. The galaxy already feared humanity. They feared the soldiers who never surrendered. They feared the determination and stubbornness of human nature. Now they feared something else. Something deeper and more unsettling.